Hello everyone, welcome to the last SIG Jenkins Infra weekly meeting of the year. We are 17 December 2024 and around the virtual table we have myself, Damien Duportal, also known as the Infra Santa. We have Stéphane Merle, also secretly known as the Infra Elf, Head of
Yes.
Health Activities. We have Mark Wade, also known as um, Disney R2D2. We have Kevin, also known as the Dark Master of the Dark Hearts that we all love. And Stewie, I don't know you enough to make enough jokes, so let's say welcome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so we are 4, 5. Who is missing? Mark Waite, Stéphane Merle, Dominique Portel, Kevin. Oh, sorry. Here we are. I need to buy myself. I need new hands and new fingers and new keyboard eventually. Kevin Martins. Really, I can type properly. Sorry. And there are two here on your name, right? No, only one.
You've
Sorry.
got it right, Tammy. No worries.
Thanks. Okay, so let's get started with the announcements. Last week, the weekly release of Jenkins 2.489 was released with no hiccups. So cool. This week, the weekly release 2.490 started on time as per Stefan analysis. Thanks, Stefan, for helping me. So that should go with no hiccups. And the main announcement is we will enter a 2 weeks end of year break because in some part of the world, at least the part where most of the team members are, it's usually Christmas and New Year's Eve, which means a lot of people are off for having big breakfast, big lunch, big dinners with their families. So not able to walk. I mean, when you hate too much, you start to have a tummy too big to reach the keyboard, so you cannot walk. Of course, everyone knows that. Which means we won't have Infra SIG meeting for the 2 upcoming weeks. So the next date is 7 January 2025. As such, this is the last one of the year. That also means no Jenkins LTS release during the usual 12 weeks time window, which means it has been delayed on the 8th January 2025. I'm not sure about the break on the weekly releases. Looks like we all have opinions, but not decision rate reached yet.
Right. So we had only two comments to the thread on the Jenkins developer list. One from Daniel Beck that he's okay either way. He just doesn't want things to be broken while during this 2 weeks. And that for me is a statement that occurs always. It's not just during those 2 weeks. We don't want things broken ever. So the more I've thought about it, the more I'm shamelessly wanting to keep them there with the knowledge that if they don't happen, we won't escalate. If there were a problem, we simply won't escalate. We won't drag you into it, Damien. If there's an infra problem, we'll just say, "Oops, no weekly release this week. We're on holiday." But I would rather not stop them so that we have the safety measure of doing the weekly releases. Now, Kevin, I guess for you that means you'd accept that I may be the documentation editor while I'm goofing off during my holiday time if you're not available. Are you okay with that, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I can also pop in and, I'm usually up early enough anyway that I can check on the change log and if it needs any updates or changes or fixes, I can make them too. So yeah, either way, Mark.
I'm certainly not going to put it on anybody. But for me, I would. So, Damien, now this is where I should be quiet because Damien, you have the other opinion. We should be sure your opinion is heard.
So, like you, I didn't took the decision. I would have preferred following Daniel's impact, Daniel's opinion, but I don't have a strong opinion on this one. It's just I wanted to point out the risk of less maintenance, so more risk to break things
Mm-hmm.
by or usually in the past years, I think what Daniel refers is 2 weeks ago, that delays the moment when we catch the breakage. Because usually people intent is not to publish things that break things. Of course, as you said, we don't want to break things all the time, but we need more than just two reviewer. We also need people asynchronously reviewing the changelog, testing things on the main branch, on the weekly branch, etc., etc. But that's also the goal of the weekly. So that's why I have a mixed opinion on this. We still have a lot of person using weekly on the stable production, including us.
Mhm.
So that's why I have mixed feeling about this one. I can't take a hard decision. That's why I was waiting for other opinions. Maybe if I send my opinion, but I fear making the decision to shift. That's why I did not add any message. Anyway, if we want to reach a decision, I don't mind either. And if we have to make a decision, if I had to make the decision myself, I would say, hey, no. Hello,
Okay,
Bruno.
so this is, I like this. This is a fun place where I'm not sure how we arrive at a Mark and Damien disagree with each other, and that's perfectly fine. Now how do we come to it? Because I think we really need a final yes or no, right? It's a binary. We can either have them on or off.
We can run a random generator, and if it's odd, you're right. I mean, if we have to reach a decision and we can't have one, obviously, that's one way to take it, and that's why I say
Coin toss. I like that. Okay.
exactly. Hello, Oleg. Hello, Bruno. Let me update. So you should have access to the shared note on the chat along here. Let me repost the message just in case Zoom doesn't keep history. Here you are.
Okay, so we've got more voices here though. So
That's a good point.
the question I raised to the Jenkins developer list was we were trying to come to a final question answer on shall we do weekly releases during the 2-week break or not? And Damien has a weak preference no, and I'm a somewhat of a pushy preference yes, but I like that we've got two different positions on it. Damien, did I fairly state your position?
Yep, absolutely.
So any other voices want to chime in?
I'm for Damien. Sorry, Mark.
That's
I
good.
vote
Okay.
no weekly during those 2 weeks.
Okay. That's thank you. That's good. I like that voices expressed.
Yeah, I would also support not doing that. I don't have much of a say at the moment, but I definitely don't like regressions happening on the weekend. And it's not like we have never had once.
So actually, I like that. I like the point that you made there because we don't want the regressions to arrive on the master branch, but I think your point is it's even more serious if the regressions reach an end user because they arrived on the master branch and were built and shipped.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that your
So
note,
basically,
Oleg?
yeah, so basically the point is not pressing contributors, etc. if something goes wrong to
Right.
address it during the vacation period.
Okay, so it sounds like there are enough voices saying let's halt. The community was undecided, so I think the answer is we halt them. So
Okay, but that means Stefan, Hi, and Oleg just have to send a quick email to your email thread to answer because we never did, and what has been said during that recording should be also written if it's okay for everyone.
right, yes, I think that makes sense. To not build weekly during the break. Good. Okay. That doesn't, and that certainly doesn't stop any Jenkins developer from building the code from source, running it. It also doesn't stop code review. It doesn't stop merge. It's not a barrier to anything other than the construction of a weekly release. So
Moreover, it doesn't stop nightlies. It doesn't stop our continuous delivery, which is basically incremental for all the versions. So
right.
whomever really wants a feature shipped on January 31st, sorry, December 31st, they can totally do it.
Fair. Good. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So Damien and Stefan. And And Oleg, are you interested in replying to that thread as well? Or are you okay if we just leave it with Damien and
Yeah,
Stefan?
I'm happy to reply if
Great.
more votes are
Okay.
needed.
Okay, good.
Cool, thanks. Just a reminder, we have a limited team availability. I'm the designated fallback since I'm the Jenkins Infra elected, newly elected again by default. Since we don't have weekly, I don't expect anything to break. So yep. I'm working, I think it's the 23 December, and then I start back, I think it's the 2nd or 3rd. I need to double check exactly. So I will be a few days around, but yeah. Which also mean our upcoming milestone will be a 3 weeks milestone. But even 3 weeks, that won't be a full complete 7-day milestone. So be careful on the task you want to work with. Anything else on announcement, folks? Nope. Okay, let's have a quick look at the upcoming calendar. So as per the discussion, the next weekly release 2.491 should happen 7 January 2025, next year. Same day as our next Infra SIG weekly meeting. The next LTS is the day following, Wednesday 8 January. We don't have any security release upcoming. And on the field of upcoming credential expiration, we have 3 credentials expiring tomorrow. So we will have to renew this credential later this afternoon on the infra part. These credentials, as a reminder, are used to deploy to production the new version of Stats Jenkins IO, contributor contributor Jenkins IO, sorry. And it's also used by Infra CI Jenkins IO, the private controller, to spin up Azure VM agents. 26 December, we will have expiration on the Terraform project. So that means we should renew them, not in emergency this afternoon, but still, otherwise we will come back from holidays with Terraform failing. Not production issue, but a bit annoying. And that's all for the upcoming credentials. The next major event is going to be the Jenkins Contributors Summit in Brussels, 31 January, followed by the FOSDEM, still in Brussels. That's the same events, 1st and 2nd February 2025. I see you have added the announcement, Oleg. Let's start with this first.
Yeah, sorry. I will move it down. As my colleagues can totally confirm, I always put it in the wrong section.
No worries. If you prefer, we can start by this, and then we will go on operational stuff.
No, well, as you wish.
I would prefer doing it now, right after the
Okay.
cloud budget, if it's okay for you.
Okay, we'll put it then.
Additional topics. I've created a section
Yeah, I
for you
will
to
move
add.
it.
Is there anything else on announcement or upcoming calendar which are not the new topics?
So just a phrased version of what I've written there. So Contributor Summit plans are coming into very solid state. Contributors who will be funded by software in the public interest were notified over the weekend and have been acknowledging whether or not they can attend. On the plus side, that means we have confirmation that Alex Brandis will be there, Valentin Delay will be there, Stefan Speaker will be there, one or two others. Unfortunately, it's exam season for Dr. Uli Hoffner, so he won't be there. But we know now rather than knowing 6 weeks from now. So, and then thanks to SPI for funding that. It's a way to use the money that had been given to Jenkins over the course of the time when Jenkins was under SPI. CloudBees is funding travel for another group of attendees. We will fill the entire 24 slots. Between the SPI funding and the CloudBees funding, we've got every seat filled, and we're looking at how to adjust given who's said no to us to see the next person we bring in. So the more details on that. Everyone should be notified by Wednesday of this week that they've been invited, so that they can book their travel now before the month of January. That's all
These,
from me.
these are excellent news. Thanks, Mark. Anything else? Okay, so let's have a quick look at the budgets. First, the Azure paid CDF account. So we have consumed 2.4K. The forecast is bigger than previous months. I've checked earlier the reasons. Logics, we have increased a bit the outbound bandwidth. That's 10 to 12 bucks daily additional. Located on the public cluster in which we have the new update center, because of course we still serve files from the Apache frontends. Even if we moved most of the bandwidth to Cloudflare mirroring system, we still have a lot. And when I say a lot, I'm speaking about billions of requests to either a wrong page or index.html page that are then crawled by a client-side bad script that then send requests to all of these links. Same user agent, same correlation ID, etc. So yeah, people are doing weird thing on the public website. That's not new. That was expected. Still, this is an increase, so we have to be careful. For 1 or 2 months, it's okay, but that means we need to compensate. With Stefan in the past months, we have found 2 compensations area. Stefan cooked on the what's the name, Azure Monitor saving whatever, the Clippy, the equivalent of Microsoft Clippy but for Azure, right? And that things gives us tips on how to spend less. So some of the tips are absolutely not acceptable. For instance, buying reserved instance, because that means paying upfront for 1, 2, or 3 years of physical host. Yes, that allows us to consume way more, but that's not possible given the CDF funding way of working. However, it also told us that we have some underutilized hosts, such as a trusted and third CI controller that are using high-end machines. And somehow trusted.ci, even though it's a critical service in our system, it doesn't require a high-end machine. It's not using a lot of memory. We never reach more than 2 GB of memory used, which means clearly we can decrease and use what we call the credit-based instances. These are instances in all cloud, the base instances, that if you don't use them, you gain credits. And when you use CPU, you lose credits. So it can be average across all the spikes. Clearly, that allows us to have saving from 200 to 300 per month. That's one easy one, just a restart of the machine and we are good. We also discussed potential savings, but that's not short term. That will be medium term. We could, now that we know and we use probably NFS instead of that piece of crap of Samba, now we can have a real life system which responds to POSIX call. So now, instead of allocating and paying for at least 100 GB, that's the minimum on premium storage, we could merge get Jenkins.io and update Jenkins.io storage because we have all the elements since the past 3 months to create one big NFS mount with subdirs, and each service has a subdirs or sub-subdirs. We can have any recursive tree as much as we want. That means the overhead of 100 GB would not need to be paid for update Jenkins.io, neither for the GeoIP updater twice. So if we start grouping, we could have potential savings that could be worth it. We're speaking about 100 of bucks per month. So no action for this year, of course. We have some margin on this one. We are clearly below the 60K. I think we won't even reach the 55K. That's all for the CDF. I tried to make it to underline that we consume a bit much. We'll need to think about long-term solution, but right now, no emergency, no issue. Any question? On the Azure sponsored account, we should reach almost 11K this month, so we are still consuming, which is good. These are credits given by Microsoft. We have to renew them. We have 35K credits left until end of May 2025. We want to keep these credits and try to reach May 2025. That's why we are continuing our effort to move CI Jenkins IO to Amazon to avoid consuming so much credits. If we reach this credit, we will have to find other solutions. On DigitalOcean, I have good news. They accepted to keep sponsoring us, and they agreed on my proposal. Since we haven't consumed the 15K credits, they have extended the expiration of this credit for 1 year. Given we don't consume more than 200 per month, as you can see on the past quarter, that made sense not asking too much. If we need more, suddenly we will contact them, etc. But DigitalOcean is right now hosting archives, Jenkins IO, which is the fallback and the archiving if any of the other clouds breaks, we have their solution. Not the same location as the other, not the same data center, not the same cloud provider. So that's interesting not to have all the eggs on the same basket. And we can also move the remaining virtual machines running on CloudBees, AWS. Inside DigitalOcean, we have enough margin. We can even think about other usage in the future. So thanks, DigitalOcean. We will need to answer them and eventually do blog posts. So I have that list of blog posts to write as per the infra. But many thanks for sponsoring us. I had an authenticator issue earlier today, so I'm not able to check the CloudBees AWS, but I guess we are still around $500 forecasted, eventually 600 this month. When I checked last Friday, we stopped consuming almost anything. So now we have 3 virtual machine to migrate. That will be the work in January. And on the AWS sponsored account, we have a forecast at more than 500. We are working hard on bringing CI Jenkins IO to that cloud.
Oh, I actually have a question. So
Mhm.
I'm going to put it in my the additional topics after Oleg's additional topic.
Okay.
That's a good one because I've just realized I've got an additional topic as well.
If it's about budgeting, just go ahead so that we don't.
Let's cover your topic first because it's broader than budgeting.
Okay.
Yep. As a reminder, I forgot we have around 58K credit left on AWS, even more. I haven't counted the new added. We have consumed 2K almost. If there aren't any other, thanks, Stefan. If we don't have other cloud question, let's jump to the additional topics. Oleg?
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe just one quick thing since Bruno and Mark are here. Today we have a GCP meeting regarding feedback from JEP 14. So I included Jenkins.
If I may just, what are the meaning of GCP? I know GEP personally, but GCP, yeah.
Java community process. So it's basically a new entity that takes care of JEPs. I mean, Java JEPs, not Jenkins JEPs. And basically, there are multiple working groups, including one that focuses on architecture processes. And one of the big projects today is JEP 14. It's tip and tails versioning model, which has basically 2 parts: is how projects are expected to version things and how Java versions things. And what I forwarded to Platform SIG on December 9th or so, and then discussed at the governance meeting. Jenkins is invited. We got a slot for today for feedback. And basically, I just would like to get confirmation from Bruno and maybe you, Mark, that you participate and actually do the presentation, or otherwise whether anything is needed to be done from my side.
And so, Bruno, are you comfortable? I had a note as I was looking at the agenda over the weekend that it might be a good fit for me, but I'm not sure that the time works for me.
It doesn't work for me because it's at the same time as the platform SIG, so I won't be able to attend, unfortunately.
So if it's same time as Platform SIG, I can attend. I could skip Platform SIG,
Yeah.
Oleg.
Okay, so are you doing any slide deck
I
or
will.
whatever?
I'll assemble some quick slides
Okay.
because there tip and tail is, it looks like so for everyone else's orientation, tip and tail is what Java is doing now, where what what they call, what Java 21 is a tail release. It's a long-term support release, and tip is what Java 22 and Java 23 and Java 24 are. And so the tip and tail release model for Java is one on which we critically rely, right? But we've chosen to only place ourselves on tail. And that's a part that I think is worth noting to them, that the Jenkins project 2+2+2 Java support plan is purely focused on tail, not on tip. We use tip to evaluate and prepare ourselves for the next tail, but we are pure tip based in terms of which Java we support. But then we use a tip and tail model with weekly and LTS that
Yeah.
you might call. Go ahead,
No,
Oleg. Did you have a comment?
Sorry. So yeah, Mark summarized it well. Sorry, I have network issues. It seems, right? Am I audible now?
You are.
You are.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say, it's a little bit more complicated than what Mark said, because what is tip and what is tail greatly depends on the interpretation by a particular project, and it's not just about OpenJDK, because what I call North Star, hello James, is basically not just having a Java model adjusted to moving fast, but also having the libraries moving fast. So let's say for us, the key item would be, let's say, Spring Framework, Spring Security, or Jenkins adopt tip and tail, and basically start moving quickly along the latest releases of Java instead of relying on LCS. And what the impact would be on projects like Jenkins. So
Yeah.
this is one of items that probably needs additional conversation, because tip and tail is not necessarily LTS in the long-term vision of Oracle.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm happy to have the conversation with them. But I think that the Jenkins project has settled after serious, deep discussion on a support model that they're willing to do for Java versions, and we're adapting to tip and tail already from Node.js, for instance, where we use the Node.js LTS and allow Node.js to go fast on their non-LTS versions, but we stay with the LTS. So it's, in terms of library providers, if other projects, if Jetty or Spring adopted tip and tail, we would, I'm pretty confident for those, choose to stay with their tail version and base ourselves on their tail version.
Yeah, and I think it would be really valuable feedback for the meeting tonight, because from what I see in the discussions, it's basically the main point of, firstly, misunderstanding of Jeff 14, and secondly, of disagreement in the community about how it would be adopted by downstream.
Yeah, so I'm happy to be there as the voice. Bruno, you're okay with that if I take that over?
Yes, of course, Mark. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So if you need me to help with slides, etc., just drop me a note. I will be doing the Gradle slide deck because I will be wearing the Gradle hat, but I do not mind to take another one if needed.
Yeah, that's okay. I'd
Okay,
rather,
thank
if I have to live without slides, I'll even rather do that. I just want to be sure that I'll capture a few comments to the agenda topics and give a brief introduction, and then we'll do question and answer.
Yeah, it's maybe mostly about links, like we have basically our Java support policy more or less documented here and there. So basically assembling these links would be also a good help as additional material.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So sorry for the tour. I'm not
No
sure
problem.
whether it's too much related to the infrastructure.
Not directly, however, that will open our eyes on how we could support the different JDK to install. As Mark said, for instance, I'm against using a non-LTS version of Node.js right now, because the exactly 123 times I tried using the latest version not LTS, it failed. something failed and had impact at the infrastructure level. And the tip and tail is absolutely and alas negatively seen by infrastructure person as, yeah, that's a good idea on paper. But on real life, when things break, yeah, you have to revert them. And I'm still waiting, but the GAP 14 is too early in the process to have a reality for infrastructure people. It's in a good shape to have developer discussion, so that way it's the right moment for Jenkins project to go there. And for us, we are just spectator, but at least now we know. Thanks, Oleg.
Yep, happy to participate. Yeah, another topic which I wanted to bring up, we had, let's say, more or less still discussion about potential velocity for sponsorship for Jenkins. So basically, the velocity is, let's say, what used to be called Gradle Enterprise, but what is now is actually distributed build caching, test analytics system. It has quite a lot of different capabilities, including build scans, advisory, etc. And there was a discussion about providing it to Jenkins. And my understanding that we still have a budget reserved for that potentially. But the question is whether the Jenkins project would be interested on this side. Obviously, here I'm wearing the Gradle hat. And one thing to mention that some features now overlap with Launchable, because Launchable is also a test optimization solution. So there might be also some unclear vendor-specific stuff, but at least for distributed build caching and for build analytics, I think that it could be a nice solution because it supports not just Gradle, but Maven too, or SBT if you have anything in the infrastructure. So just putting it there, that potential for sponsorship is still open. For 2025, yeah, we'll probably need to review it. If there is no response or interest from Jenkins side, we will likely move on and onboard another project. But if there is interest, I can basically connect the right people.
And my assessment right now is I don't think we're going to heighten our interest. Not that Gradle build caching is that the build caching is not interesting, but rather I'm just not sure we've got the capacity to engage with Gradle right now from the Jenkins side of things. We've got other things that have to be dealt with.
We did some pilot for the plugins. So what we can say is basically around 4 times increase in build speed and similar reduction in traffic happening to the builds. So for me, the biggest story where it contributes to is actually the infrastructure cost, but at the same time, it could also contribute to developer experience. But again, doing anything serious, let's say for plugins, etc., would need at least a champion from the Jenkins project side that would be interested.
Right.
In my case, firstly, I cannot be such a champion because of conflict of interest. Secondly, yeah, also because of my time bandwidth.
Understood.
If you have time, I will be interested to see the infrastructure part because same. I will be interested to understand what is required on the server side part to provide such gain because infrastructure cost usually is moved from the build instances to the caching system, which can be quite costly if you want it not only effective but also cloud agnostic. So I'm really interested on where could be the gain, at least on infra side. On the client side, I guess it's all about what features are out of the box available for Maven builds. Otherwise, that means I assume a change to Gradle system instead of Maven, which is used everywhere. So that one has a cost that clearly is huge. But I'm interested.
Sorry. Sorry for interrupting. Yeah, it doesn't imply any change because despite the former name Gradle Enterprise, it actually supports Maven fully. And yeah, it was one of the reasons of renaming from Gradle Enterprise to Velocity. And maybe another part to address right away for multiple projects, we actually provided as SaaS, including all the hosting costs. which is actually a significant part of the budget.
I I will get my hat off challenging this assertion, and I will be interested into seeing how you tackle the problem.
Financial accepted. We can take it offline, but there is a bunch of Maven projects already using the velocity, including around 40 Apache Foundation projects. Because Gradle, despite of what you might expect, is a platinum member of Apache Foundation, and we provide the velocity for the whole.
I don't need the argument, authority argument. I just interested in the solution or the features. That's
Okay.
why I would want to see.
Yeah, happy to
If you have docs, slide, or if you are available in January to
Okay.
give me a presentation oriented on what are the infrastructure requirements.
Okay.
The reason I'm asking that for everyone is because since we are moving CI Jenkins IO to a single bubble inside AWS, that could be the right moment to see if there are things we could do on that area.
Okay. So let's find some time if we are available, and yeah, it's not immediate priority, but we can look at it. Meanwhile, I will check what is the status on our side in terms of continuation for 2025, because I believe the offer was made to Jenkins in 2023 or even 2022 before I actually joined Gradle as a company. So I'm just catching up on some old stories. Okay, I guess that's it.
Thanks, Oleg.
Thank you.
Mark, you did have the AWS account used for SDK v2, right? Is that your
Right. Yeah, that's my
so your
topic.
so
Okay,
let's proceed.
So Basil Crow and others are exploring what will it mean to, well, first statement, Java AWS SDK for Java v1 is end of life, gets no more, it's already no more enhancements, and as of 31 December 2025, we'll also get no security fixes. So we can't use AWS SDK for Java v1 after 31 December 2025. We've got to get off of it. Basil has started the work. The first publication of the API plugin is done, and the two most critical dependencies have already been upgraded. There are major changes in the API, so there's an awful lot of work, but it's an awful lot of work that can be done in parallel. Then the question from Basil was, hey, where do we get the funding to do this development work in the community, because it requires AWS resources? And one of the thoughts was, okay, is there a way that the Jenkins Infra could use some of the donated AWS funds to help developers? But my worry was, I don't know how you would do the partitioning of that. So I'm not accustomed to how people deal with AWS spend partitioning. Is this even possible? Is it infeasible given the other work we have going on? That was my question.
No, I think it's absolutely acceptable. Not only it will benefit us on the long term, mostly because the current EC2 plugin spins up virtual machine with poor performances, and there are no solutions today, especially in terms of IOPS. You are stuck to default GP3 SSD volume. You cannot use provision SSD, you cannot increase bandwidth or IOPS of the machines, at least with the EC2 plugin. So this one is a worry for Stefan and I already today, because we expect lower performances for the builds on some cases, or most cases. So in any case, we will benefit from this quickly. Secondly, technically, if we allocate them an IAM user, an IAM profile on a distinct region than the one we use, with restricted permission, not only we will pose any threat, we wouldn't delete their resources, they wouldn't risk deleting CI Jenkins IO. We already have security, but that's an additional one. Separating regions is easier for separation of concerns and for tracking the costs. If we want to know how much do they cost, we can just export during the weekly meeting or to them the cost on their region, and that's okay. The only requirement is they should tell us what exactly kind of resources they will need. I assume the usual EC2 resources because they will want to create controllers and test the EC2 plugin. But yeah, we clearly can have a profile for them and have a group of users they could use for that.
Okay,
And that's
so
not a big cost for us.
And I would say that the perfect timing.
Yep, absolutely.
okay, good. So you're saying that it is not a threat to the Jenkins infra for you to have allocate an IAM profile that could be used by Basel as a developer. If we've got other developers who are doing work on Jenkins plugins, they could actually use funds donated by AWS because you've granted them an IAM profile. So
Yep.
Basel gets one, Mark Waite gets one, somebody else gets one, Bruno might get one, Kevin might get one, and each of us could in fact use that profile that you've allocated to us. Oh, nice. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. What do we need to do then to what is needed to start that? Do you want a help desk ticket?
Yes, with a summary or a draft of the usages you plan to have in terms of I will need to create EC2 VMs with disks, with whatever. I don't know. So the list of expected resources to create, that could be the default resources of required by the EC2 plugin. And then a list of users, and we will then send a encrypted credential to the user. They will need to enable 2FA, and we're done. So LDEST issue with description of the use case should be clearly enough.
Good. All right. Okay. Then Infra will generate the credentials and share them securely. Okay.
You have to keep in mind that it will be another area, the region.
Which
So
is
if they plan to have some timing and very precise metrics, that will not fit because it's not the same area.
and I think that this at least the things that Basil was describing seem entirely disposable. So I don't see
Good.
any reason why they would be doing performance benchmarks across regions or anything like that. That's well beyond what I expect this would do.
And what will not be available, I think, will be interaction between the AWS new CI with that part
and
of
and that is highly desirable that
good.
there is not interaction. So that's not just not an issue. That's very, very
That's yeah,
desirable. So that's
that's
good.
very smart, by the way. Thank you, Damien.
Okay.
And in any case, if there are any limitation or ideas, don't hesitate to open an help desk to question first, and then we can discuss it on the team meeting like we are doing.
Right.
Because most of the time, I believe it's just a few permission, or we have many tricks. We learned many tricks during the past 2 months on the IAM permission model. Stefan can acknowledge, and Jay, even if in half, acknowledge. So we have many tricks now to manage permissions.
Okay, and I'm for Bruno's benefit, I'm putting a reminder. We made it a workshop session at the Contributor Summit on AWS Java SDK v2. So for me, that's a possible topic. I know we'll need a workshop session or a session on security because we've got Michael Windsor there. But let's
And
be
there
sure
are
that
French and German region on AWS close to Brussels in terms of network, so that will be perfect.
that's I'm not yeah, I'm more worried about the conversations than about allocating machines that are nearby. So, but that's okay.
That's my infra hat, you know.
Yeah, yes, I heard that echo. That's good. Okay, so a description of what's desired and that's a great story. And remind me again, the AWS donation expiration is not until late 2025, is that right?
Yes, yes, that's what I had in mind. I'm not up to, I need to check again. I'm not sure, but I remember something like October or November.
Okay, great. So that timing is good because it's beneficial to AWS for us to do this work, right? they certainly don't want all Jenkins controllers to stop talking to AWS, and we don't want that either.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Excuse the side trip, and Oleg,
No
thanks
problem.
for adding additional topics. That was
Thanks.
a very nice thing.
Just some of them, but yeah.
Okay, Damien, back to you.
I think we can go on operational part, or are there any other topics or questions?
Operational looks good.
1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's go on operational. So what were we able to finish during the past milestone? We had a few support issues that were finished. There was an plugin repo archive, so we did nothing. It's related to the Jenkins CI GitHub admins. Thanks, team. Thanks, Stefan, for fixing the garbage collector on Azure. So we are garbage collecting the virtual machine templates built by our Packer process to provide a all-in-one image for the agents. We re-enabled it recently and we realized that it was a bit too aggressive. That was deleting machine being built. That's not what we want. So thanks, Stefan fixed the problem, and we clearly see an improvement in the build stability, which benefits Alex Earl, who, as a reminder, is helping us on providing the tooling required to package Jenkins MSI using our all-in-one image instead of that cranky Windows container image that we have today. So thanks, Stefan. We had also permission issue related to the plugin modernizer tool that we recently moved from Jenkins CI to Jenkins Infra GitHub organization. One of the many reasons was they wanted to distribute the CLI using homebrew tap, and we have one. And we are also, there were the discussion, there were no clear issue on which organization. Is it something consumed directly by Jenkins user? Otherwise, in that case, it should go on Jenkins CI, obviously. If it's consumed by the Jenkins maintainers or infra, usually it's Jenkins infra. Of course, this is not a hard 100% rule, but the discussion made it move. Of course, that move had consequences, and Tim and Valentin and Bruno had to fix things along the way. But the command line is now distributed with the brew tap from Jenkins Infra that was already used for Golang tool. That's the first time we distribute a Java CLI. So congrats for the work everyone did on this one. No question? Cool. Relating to keeping the platform up to date. Now the new update center falls back to archive Jenkins IO when the mirror bit detection system fails to find a proper file. That clearly decreased the amount of errors we saw on that new system. That's the good news. We still have a few errors though. We have now passed the threshold of less errors than we had with the former service in the single machine. That doesn't mean 0% error though. We have optimization to do on the update center generation script, the order in which we copy file, fallback first, then mirrors, then Apache. We need to re-optimize all of this, but other than that, that's running really good. We had a teeny fix-up on the way we keep track of AZ copy binary on Puppet. We need now to move that change to Packer image and other repository in which we have AZ copy. But the main issue has been fixed because we were using a trick by getting the location header of a redirection response in order to get the final destination and version. However, Microsoft now provides a package, so by using the package, it's easier to track its version. Thanks, Marker, for that topic. Stefan, a word on the stage view, from stage view to graph view on infra.ci?
Yes, it's now in place on Infra CI, so we are now using the new pipeline view on the stage view. We will be waiting a little before putting that in CI, the Jenkins.io, to make sure that everyone got all the information it needed. We discovered, because thanks to Mark, that we can have the timing of the builds directly from the upper left. Yes, that thing. Thank you, Damien. And so I think that you are right, Mark, and we got all the information we need, and we don't need to ask for improvement. I did ask though, I did open an issue, and I've been answered back that most of what I answered have already been asked, and that we can find most of them on that little pop-up window. So if everybody is happy with that, we'll see in January to bring that to CI Jenkins IO instead of the common stage view plugin.
Okay. I'm annoyed by the negative answer though. Adding
They,
requiring a one click to see this information that we used to have directly on the stage view is annoying.
they didn't say they will not do it. They said that someone already asked, and
Okay.
that we can find them there.
Which means it's not a blocker, but that could be an improvement, the way I
Yeah.
see it. However, I caught a bug on
Uh-oh.
that view. When the build, so I don't have an example here, but I saw that the build was failing on some. So as a reminder, these are top level stage that contain many sub-stage parallel stages, right? When one of the parallel inner stages fails, the top level one stays green here, while it's not
Oh,
green on the single graph view. And sometimes you see here the global build status here doesn't map exactly to the status here. So there is a discrepancy between both views which are on the same page. I saw it multiple times. So I think there could be slight improvement, at least in the UX part. I don't know if it's technically feasible because maybe here it doesn't have access in its own API to the right build status. But I see, yeah, that's a visual bug.
worst
Also,
case scenario, we see them in end of January.
yeah, absolutely. I guess FOSDEM will be a great place to
Oh
hack on
yes.
this. And also, I have a request for enhancement, which for me is a blocker for CI Jenkins IO. There is no visual indicator here that tells you that Kubernetes management is a complex step, that if you click it, then you should see numerous sub-steps. And when you click it, you go here, which is
Oh,
expected, but you don't see the graph view, the single graph view, which is visible here. So I clearly see in the user steps request for enhancements, but
yeah,
that's
you're
not a
right.
blocker for us, at least. So thanks, Stefan. I mean, we need to
Welcome.
be the spear of the hedge, the tip of the spear. Living on the edge, okay, I mix everything. Stefan, also, can you give us a heads up on the GeoIP database update, please?
Oh
Which has been
yes, it seems to work. It's working. It doesn't seems to work. It's working now. We had to do some improvement. First, doing the update only if needed. So now we're parsing the JSON provided by the tool from Joey IP Updater, and if we did the update, we launch a rollout restart on all the pods using mirror bits. And like that, we are making sure that everything is in adequation, is in line. And we did try it and checked, and the geolocalization were working, and the file were consistent. If we have that problem again, I think that we will have to change the file share to a real, I forgot the other name, the one we just discussed about, and share it with with all the other services because it's an expensive one and it's
Yep.
minimum 100 gigabyte. The expert one? No, what's the name of that volume?
Premium.
Forgot.
Premium.
Sorry? Premium.
Premium.
Yes, premium storage.
Thanks.
But for now, it's working fine.
We have had a successful database update. because now GeoIP, that official database,
You know where
misplaced
you are.
my location. No, now they don't. They misplace me 100 kilometers now with the latest version. And now I'm misplaced on the update center, which means we used up-to-date data.
Okay.
Thanks, Stefan. We had one closed as not planned issue. So someone tried to create an account. They tried to create multiple on the same web browser session. So clearly it was seen as spam. They never answered. So I closed after 5 or 6 days. Any question on the closed and finished work? Okay, now work in progress by thematics. Update center. So it's working fine. So now we need to decommission, as we said, decommission the old Apache vhost and associated data on PKG VM. So the idea is that by decommissioning, we might see user complaining because it's 2024 and people still don't know how to do DNS, most probably. So we will shut down any request. They will start to see HTTP 404 errors if they are still using the old IP. We will also need to decommission the update center credential and configuration that copy data to PKG, which means PKG will have a snapshot version of December 2024 of the update center and no more. We don't expect updates after this one. We won't delete the data on that machine for two reasons. First, we never know. There might be someone who built a synchronization at a moment in time 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and we will have bad surprise. Because when we added archives, Stefan and I discovered that all of the mirrors have a partial subset of the update center data, even OSU OSL. That come from a time where everything was under the same machine, even the mirror brain system. And it looks like it has never been removed, but we never know. So since we are trying to split update center and PKG as part, not only for this, but as part of this change, decommissioning with deleting data could create troubles. So we need to go step by step if we need to roll back at any moment. The deletion of the data will happen when we will delete PKG VM. That should happen in the next quarter, but not yet. That's all for the update center. Are there any questions about the new update center architecture?
I thought we had a pull request waiting for latest redirection that were to date. I misremember.
That's unrelated to the update center. That's on Get Jenkins IO.
Oh, sorry. I thought that was for that. Okay.
Next quarter, we will also start the work on adding a third mirror in China as a reminder. Okay, so next topic is CI Jenkins IO. We have three main topics. Creating a new EKS cluster to support container agents. That's on Stefan. I will let him describe the status. Ephemeral VM agent on AWS using the EC2 plugin, I will report. And Stefan will just give us a heads up on the top level sponsoring topic. We haven't done any effort on the moving controller virtual machine since it's waiting for the agents. So Stefan, first, the good news
yes, the good
from the
news,
support.
they agreed to level up the agreement to use 2000 CPU. They refused in the first time, and then we had to explain why we needed them, and they acknowledge and validate and agreed this morning, so we can now proceed with no brain and wrong thing on the head. As for the create AKS, Damien did the locking. Okay, that's not English. Managed all the security issues that we were having, and now we have an AKS working. I started to work on the pull request to implement the infra CI management of it. I have to split the work in small pieces because I did way too much in one set, but it's going in a good direction right now. Did I forget something? No.
As a reminder, that is a tricky one because it's the initial bootstrap of the cluster, which means we have to
Chicken.
define, we have egg and chicken problem. We have to define the proper set of virtual machines. So we are currently studying the hardware on EC2 because yes, starting virtual machine is easy. Starting virtual machine with the proper set of hardware to utilize correctly resources at the right rate for your usage is another problem. So
With
we
the
are in
correct
that
version
area.
of the plugin?
Yep. So right now we are setting up our administrative tools, and then the most challenging part will be the insane ACP. Because we will need to create new instance of ACP with the right performances for our users. That will be the last step here. Any question? Okay. Next one, move ephemeral virtual agent to AWS. So that's EC2 plugin. So it works with Puppet full setup. Yes, we have machines popping. I haven't tested the performances of the builds because they highly depend on ACP. However, main issue, that's the SSD setup. Default MEI block storage is used. There are no way with the EC2 plugin to tell Jenkins, hey, please start a virtual machine with provisioned NVMEs or with GP freestyle. It only used the kind of storage, the quality and IOPS that you used on the MEI. It inherits from it, and we don't have a lot of choices. So right now we have moved from GP2 to GP3. So GP stands for general purpose. So that's in our case with our disk, that's at least an increase of 450 to 3000 IOPS. But we are limited in bandwidth at 125. I don't think any of our builds should be limited by 125 bandwidth because I don't think we reached that level. It's in sequential. We have confirmed that's the reality, but it's still 3 to 4 times slower than the current Azure machines. Slower than Azure VM agents today for a reason. Azure uses local NVMe storage. So clearly, if you don't have to send packets across the network, it's faster to use a local NVMe. Yes. EC2 provides local storage in the name of instance store. We have started to study this one, but we're not sure it's worth the effort. We have to demonstrate by running a few test builds, a BOM builds, a Jenkins core, 1 or 2 plugins, ATH on that new CI Jenkins IO instance. We need to see what are the limitations. Problem now is that the Gantt diagram says we will see slow builds because we don't have ACP. We have to download everything from Artifactory. So we need to set up ACP before being able to evaluate what kind of instance we need. As such, I propose we get started with full EBS for now, and we start with these agents. Require benchmarking, which require ACP. So it's working. If no one objects, I will finish the setup to have exactly same labels and let's say superficial capabilities than what we have today. We close that issue. Then we focus on EKS. And then before the migration, we do benchmark once everything is set up. Are there any objection? Nope. Oh, no. Next, Windows agents. Next, Spot agents. I propose that Spot shouldn't be mandatory for the initial release because right now we don't use Spot. So I don't want to have two phenomena. first, the risk of time performances decreasing by moving to AWS if we meet any, and Spot that will create the illusion or the impression to developer that their builds are failing, and it takes time because it has to retry. We know how to retry to lead to success, but I propose we start with on-demand agent, and then we will change to Spot in the future. Are there any objection or question on this? 1, 2, 3, no? Okay. Block by agents. That's all for CI Jenkins IO. Just a word on ACP. First, all the errors that the bomb maintainers saw related to ACP have been proven to be artifactory errors that would have happened in any case. There is nothing we can do on that area for now. I've started checking though if what kind of retry mechanism could be set up on ACP level, just in case, but there are already some. I don't remember which one though. So that's one is annoying, but I don't see any solution on this one. All errors were artifactory side. I thought ACP was having issue with too many TCP sockets connected to repo. That's not the case. All the error has been clearly the server side that say that shut down the connection or send an error.
But the pull request that Mark did with the warmer for the bomb is one solution.
Yep.
Partial one, but it's one.
Yep.
Well, calling it a solution is probably more generous than it deserves.
Yeah, you probably have a better English word, but that's a way to try to avoid any problems.
It's an attempt to get the data into the cache.
Yes, or to
that
have
will
the
need-
error in the first minutes
Right.
of the build.
The reality is we were already preheating during the last bomb build, and we had we had run preheat multiple times, and we still had to retry 5 times.
Yep.
So I fear that at the root of it, we're running 200 machines, and the 200 machines are making requests to Artifactory that Artifactory can't satisfy just by sheer volume. And so Damien's notion of retry is probably, exponential backoff and retry is probably what we're going to have to look at. I like preheat. It's good because preheat gets it into our cache, so we reduce our demands on their bandwidth. I think that's the right thing to do in any case. But while that may help us, it probably won't solve it.
We also have one additional solution that might not, or I don't know if it should be used or not, but we could also provide an additional caching layer on the client side. A lot of other CI systems provide the ability for a given build to mark a directory, such as home-.m2, to be cached. So what is happening, it will be zip archived, sent to a shared directory, and then can be reused. We always refused first Olivier and then me to add this because it was making us risking cache poisoning in CI Jenkins IO, and that risk was too high. But we have reached a certain level of maturity in the Jenkins area and the infrastructure. That means maybe we could think about such solution. So it's not a replacement to ACP. It's a client-side caching. If you already have most of the requests, you don't need to go on ACP itself. So that will smoothen the curve of using requests. It's only possible in our case because we use Maven artifacts, which are usually not replaced for a given version, at least on the Jenkins project, even the snapshots. So that means we only need to ask ACP and then Artifactory on the latest changes. That could be something. Be careful because it's not always worth the effort. The time to create that cache, store it, you pay for the storage, and the time to retrieve it from the storage could clearly eclipse away or remove any gain that you could build on past builds like you would have on your machine.
Well,
That's why sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Wouldn't we then also face the same threat that now we've got instead of 200 machines asking for Artifactory for an artifact, they're asked 200 machines are asking some storage service inside the cloud provider to deliver them this large zip file concurrently. And
Yep.
so yeah, I think zip or rsync based artifact caching, yeah, it's any one of them might solve it and might not. Yep.
Yep. For the bomb, that could be a solution with S3 storage, for instance. But that means let's wait for us to fix CI Jenkins on a given cloud provider and use the cloud provider feature. S3 is really good at this.
Okay. So my scaling concern is probably a non-concern with S3. They're very much accustomed to high
Yeah,
demand, even if
I'm
it's
more
just
worried.
internal.
I'm more worried about so Maven will take care of corruption of the data, so that's okay. I'm more worried about the time required to retrieve all this data. That's the balance
No,
to
no.
find.
The other alternative would be create a container image that contains the cache, and then you use the container image on each startup. But then that container image is gigabytes of size, and I assume
Yep.
that's not dramatically better than just getting it from an S3 bucket.
Yeah, clearly.
Okay, good. Thanks. Okay.
Also, that's why I'm interested in Oleg solution. I will be interested to see because if they use Maven internals, that means they had a layer at the build cache part. So that will allow decreasing, from my understanding, the pressure on the dependency management part. We'll see. That could be interesting to see. But right now, yeah, sorry, I don't have any immediate actionable on Artifactory. That's the takeaway. If we have builds like the bomb builds that have issue, the problem must be solved specifically on the bomb builds because that's the only builds that report that kind of error for now. There might be others, but without any elements, I'm blind and I don't see a lot of errors. I mean, the bomb represents 100% of the errors on the past 3 weeks, and the errors represent less than 1 billion percentage of the request made to ACP. But for the bomb maintainers, that's a slowdown or a blocker for the releases. So that's why we had to find a common intermediate takeaway, of course. It's always a matter of local optimum. I haven't seen any obvious error, but I haven't checked in details the version range thing. I believe I should try to reproduce it locally first. That's all from me on ACP. Do you have questions? So this one, keep on the next milestone. Monitoring private builds. We haven't had time to spend on this. Jay is in holidays for 2 weeks. So I propose we delay to January. No objection? On the support steps, foreign releases in public repository. I haven't seen any answer from Alex, so I believe we will discuss this issue at the FOSDEM in 2 months. Reminder that we see potential improvement on the Jenkins packaging for some Fedora or Red Hat systems. Thanks for the work already done here. I believe we can start forcing HTTPS everywhere as the next steps. Most probably delayed to January. Same for the external users struggling, unless there is an objection. Nope. Infrastats missing. I've pinged Kosuke, but I saw on the internet that Kosuke was traveling, so I guess he is not at home, so he cannot work on this one. Let's send him a last ping for this year, and we'll see in January. And same Maven Central Artifact. I propose we remove this from the milestone because we don't have bandwidth and blockers on that part for now. And that's all on the work in progress. Any question, or should I move to the triage parts? Because it's been a rather long meeting. Okay. Update Center and Packer image are the next one. Update Center will stay in triage. We have forefound certain resources that should not be used or really rarely. So that's an edge case. Edge case delayed to January. Because now that Update Center performs well, we need to focus on CI.
That's the issue I was referring, and that's for the update
Oh,
center.
this one. Yeah, that's an Apache one, so that's edge
Ah.
case. So let's not spend too much time on this one. Thanks, Stephen. Good catch. Now Windows 2019, I need to move it because I started working on a proof of concept. So the goal is to start building in Packer image, the Windows image for the virtual machine agents. That require a bit of work because the last steps need preparation at the Windows level. We call that WinSys prep. And it wasn't required in Azure, it is in EC2. To new milestone. And same for ECR. The goal is to have a Docker caching registry like we have today. Now that I have agent working as expected, I can run Docker commands on my pipelines. I need to set up the ECR pull through cache. And the rest are delayed for January. Are there any question, new topic, things to discuss? Okay, so then I can stop sharing my screen. And now I can say, hey, Merry Christmas, new happy end of year for the people who are doing this kind of parties. See you in 3 weeks, and thanks for all the 2024 year full of work, folks, and contributions.
Thank you, Damien. Bye bye.
You.
Take care, everyone. See you next year. Bye bye.